Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third day of evidential hearings in Tranche 1, Phase 1 at the Undercover Policing Inquiry. My name is Jacqueline Purser and I'm the Hearings Manager. As a reminder to those of you in the virtual hearing room, please turn off both your camera and microphone unless you are invited to speak by the Chairman. I will now hand over to our Chairman, Sir John Mitting, to formally start proceedings. Chairman.
Thank you. This morning's proceedings are going to begin by the summarising by Ms. Monaghan of the evidence of 3 undercover officers who provided witness statements, and by her indicating in the case of 2 deceased officers where the relevant material can be found. We will then adjourn for a short period and resume with live evidence. The first part of the proceedings will be live streamed. The second, the live evidence period, won't. Ms. Monaghan.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. HN 330. 330's reporting shows that he served briefly in the SDS between at least the 26th of September 1968 and the 29th of October 1968, and this is confirmed by his witness statement. He infiltrated the Havering branch of the Vietnam Solidarity Campaign using the cover name Don de Freitas. Publication of his real name is restricted. 330 served in Special Branch both before and after his posting to the SDS. He recalls using false names and occupations casually and habitually whilst working in Special Branch, and contrasts this with his use of a fixed false identity in the SDS. Before his posting, he reported on Tariq Ali and a demonstration on the 25th of May 1968 regarding a local issue in Powis Square, London, which involved the Notting Hill VSC and led to arrests. He knew Comrade Dixon socially and was asked to join the SDS when they met by chance in the corridors of Scotland Yard. At that time, 330 held the rank of Detective Sergeant. He describes the unit as informal. Save for his special branch experience, he had no additional training and was not told what the job entailed. Married at the time of joining, he recalls that no manager spoke to his spouse about his new role and the possible impact on his personal life. He received no guidance on creating a false identity, and so came up with his own cover name and cover employment as a driver. He dressed casually for the role, but did nothing to change his appearance. He had no cover accommodation and operated out of Scotland Yard. The documents show that 330 initially attended a public meeting of Havering International Socialists held on the 26th of September 1968, which had been advertised by leaflets distributed in Romford Market. At that meeting, a Havering VSC committee was appointed and agreed to meet in private. 330 recalls that by ingratiating himself with speakers and attendees at the public meeting, he was invited to join these private committee meetings. At Comrade Dixon's suggestion, he and HN 334 Margaret White attended as a couple to make them less suspicious. His remit was to find out as much as possible about the group's plans for the demonstration of the 27th of October 1968 and identify its members. Accordingly, he reported on the group until just after the 27th of October demonstration, soon after which his deployment ended. His reports evidence the group's preparations for the demonstration, such as the composition and distribution of leaflets and fly posting, something 330 admits to doing during his deployment. His reporting and evidence on the group suggests that Havering VSC was peaceful in its aims and not subversive, and he describes most of its members as, open quotes, unwilling to support acts of civil disobedience or terrorism, close quotes. He states that on the 27th of October 1968, he and the group marched from Trafalgar Square, chanting Ho, 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 Chi Minh, and disbanded at Hyde Park. In his final report, dated the 29th of October 1968, he relays the general opinion of Havering VSC that the demonstration was a open quotes, complete and utter disaster, close quotes. 2 reports contain information on a Labour Party official who was a member of the group, which he states was because MI5 was interested in whether extremists were penetrating what he describes as, open quote, legitimate left-wing political organisations, close quotes. In addition to his reporting on Havering VSC, there is a note on a telegram concerning intelligence that a person was seeking to obtain ingredients to make smoke bombs for use at the demonstration, which tasks 330 to inquire into this and then report. The inquiry also holds a 330 report which concerns the plans of anarchists from University College Swansea to attend the 27th of October demonstration, but it is unclear whether he came by this information in his undercover role or by other means. 3 documents post-date 330 service in the SDS and show his involvement in monitoring public events organised by the anti-apartheid movement between July 1969 and June 1970. All 3 reports were copied to the security services. There is no evidence to suggest that 330 engaged in sexual activity while in his cover identity. That concludes the summary for 330. I will now move on to HN 321. 321's real name is restricted. He is believed to have used the cover name William Bill Paul Lewis. He lives abroad and has provided a witness statement to the inquiry. 321's reporting held by the inquiry dates from the 18th of September 1968 to the 30th of September 1969. In his evidence, he states that he resigned from the Metropolitan Police soon after leaving the SDS because he had, open quotes, tired of the work, close quotes. The majority of his reports relate to the International Marxist Group. Prior to his recruitment, 321 worked in Special Branch, B Squad. In this role, he had no false identity, but would attend public meetings and demonstrations in casual clothes, noting attendees and their activities. He describes how a detective inspector colleague, impressed by the detail in one of HN 321's reports on a radical group, encouraged him to attend a meeting regarding the formation of a new squad. 321 recalls attending an initial meeting in September 1968 to set up the SDS, called by Conrad Dixon and attended by around 30 others, where they were told that their work in the squad would be kept secret. Single and in his 20s with no responsibilities, 321 accepted the invitation to volunteer for the SDS. He held the rank of Detective Constable. 321 received no formal training before his deployment and no guidance as to how best to conduct his duties beyond the set objective of gathering intelligence around the October 27 demonstration. He received no guidance on creating a false identity and made up his own cover name and cover employment as an instrumentation and control technician, something he could talk about if necessary. He was also tasked with finding his own cover accommodation. He recalls 2 cover flats, one in Earl's Court and one in Axham, where he lived alone during his deployment. He states that he attended the SDS safe house several times a week, a practice advised by Conrad Dixon in order to keep SDS officers engaged during their downtime. He states that while SDS officers operated alone, they learned through sharing their experiences. He gives us an example of this, an SDS officer colleague working undercover who saw a real-life acquaintance in a pub and explained to his colleagues the way in which he avoided blowing his cover. 321 did no preparatory work for his undercover role. 321 recalls that he was not assigned to a particular group, but attended a demonstration and later a meeting, which he subsequently discovered was a meeting of the IMG. Conrad Dixon then instructed him to attend further meetings on the basis that the IMG's activities were of interest to the SDS. His reports on the IMG span the entire period of his deployment, and the majority post-date the 27th of October demonstration. His first report is on a public meeting attended by core participant Ernie Tate and the socialist candidate for the American presidency, Fred Halstead. but his reporting thereafter covers private events. In addition to his reports on the IMG, there are early reports on Lambeth VSC and its increasing domination by the IMG and other parts of the VSC. In a telegram dated the 26th of October 1968, 321 relays suggestions made at a meeting of the Southwest VSC Ad Hoc Committee in Brixton that police coaches in the car park on Vauxhall Bridge should be sabotaged prior to the VSC demonstration the following day. In his witness statement, however, he notes that he did not think the IMG would have carried out this threat, as while, open quotes, they talked a lot about revolution, close quotes, they were, open quotes, actually quite passive and intellectual. He states that he did not express this view to his SDS managers, reporting only the facts of what took place at the meetings he attended. 321 recalls an occasion when he was able to record the details of around 80 members of the IMG, information which was subsequently passed to the security services. He also reported on discussions and planned demonstrations in relation to Northern Ireland, a post-mortem of the October 27 demonstration, the Middle East, the 9th International Congress of the 4th International, Scottish nationalism, and women's rights. His final reports concern the IMG 1969 education camp in Dunbartonshire, Scotland, which he attended using his cover vehicle, giving a lift to 3 IMG members. 321 states that he engaged in no criminal activity while undercover, other than obstruction of the highway and perhaps fly posting. He was never arrested. Generally, he recalls being advised not to resist arrest if it happened, and that it could be, open quotes, sorted out, close quotes, further down the line, with charges probably being dropped. There is no evidence to suggest that 321 engaged in sexual activity while in his cover identity. That concludes the summary for 321. HN 322. 322 served in the SDS for a short period of time in the early months of its existence. He was never deployed undercover and so had no cover name. Publication of his real name has been restricted. He has provided a witness statement to the inquiry. His SDS tenure was bracketed by generic special branch work. In his evidence, he states that there was little difference between the two roles, in his experience. Both involved attending meetings in plain clothes and gathering intelligence. He held the rank of Detective Constable while in the SDS. 322 went on to have a long career in the MPS, attaining a senior rank. He was first made aware of the SDS's existence when Conrad Dixon approached him and personally invited him to join. Married with a young family at the time, 322 states in evidence that no manager spoke to his wife about the possible impact of undercover work on his family life, and he was told nothing about what the work entailed. Once he had signed up and understood the job involved periods of time away from his family, he asked to be taken off the squad. He received no training or guidance for his SDS role. He had no cover employment and no cover flat. He did not alter his appearance. 322 was not deployed to any particular group, although, had he remained a member of the SDS for a longer time period, he may have been directed to the South East London VSC. He recalls being told to attend, observe, and report back on a few different meetings. And this is reflected in the small number of his reports held by the inquiry, which show attendance at 3 meetings, 2 of the Earls Court VSC and 1 of the South East London Ad Hoc Committee of the VSC. There is some additional reporting which postdates the demonstration and covers private meetings and planned activities of the British Vietnam Solidarity Front and the Revolutionary Socialist Students' Federation. These are reports written on behalf of HN 335, Mike Tyrrell. In his statement, he contrasts the formality of special branch work with the lack of direction and supervision in the SDS. He recalls that he was advised to go to meetings, but given no direction or guidance about what he should do when in attendance. He remembers no contact or discussion with managers and had a lot of free time. He was based at New Scotland Yard, where he would type up his reports. There is no evidence to suggest that HN322 engaged in sexual activity while in his cover identity. That concludes the summaries of the 3 officers. In addition to the witness statements and the documents for those officers, which are being published today, the inquiry is also publishing documents in relation to 2 deceased officers, HN135, whose real name is Michael Ferguson, and who reported on the British Vietnam Solidarity Front, the Irish Civil Rights Solidarity Campaign, and Stop the 70 Tour. And this analysis can be found at pages 123 to 126 of Appendix 2 to Counsel to the Inquiry's written opening statement. And also HN325, Conrad Dixon, who is head of the SDS and reported on the VSC. And that analysis can be found at pages 174 to 189 of Appendix 2 to Counsel to the Inquiry's written opening statement.
Thank you, Ms. Monaghan. We will now adjourn until 10:30, when we will resume with the evidence of HN328.
Thank you, everyone. We will now take a break until 10:30. You may now go into your breakout rooms.